as well as assaults on the battlefield, though Russia's also been carrying out what one might call political attacks. Let's bring you back to the story we had earlier of Russia expelling 6 British diplomats from its embassy in Moscow. It's accusing them of being spies. Let's get more analysis on this from Alexander Titov, who's a lecturer at Queen's University in Belfast. I mean, you will have, I think, enough background knowledge to have a stab at this one, Alexander. In your opinion, do you think it's likely that those diplomats were spies?
Oh, well, everything is possible, but broadly speaking, with diplomatic expulsions, it's a matter of sending signals. And Russians obviously kind of doing it in the context of increased talks about Britishing, first of all, allowing the long-range missiles being fired into Russia of pre-1914 borders, which would Russians consider as a major escalation. So quite possible. It's a warning shot of what how relations will develop after if that permission is granted.
Yeah, it's not coincident, is it, that we've got the UK Prime Minister meeting with the US President whether to allow long-range missiles to be used against Russia into Russian territory, and then you get this. Is this almost like a preemptive strike coming in from Russia?
Well, certainly kind of within a broader context of Russian increased diplomatic activity and Putin's statements about them considering firing of long-range missiles, which Putin said can only be targeted by using Western satellites, US satellites, and can only be programmed by the NATO officers, not Ukrainians themselves, that this would be considered as a kind of attack on Russia by countries responsible. So, and the country responsible, the prime country which is kind of gagging to go for it is UK, and UK diplomats are being expelled. So I don't know. I mean, not direct kind of evidence, but putting two and two together. Seems to be quite plausible explanation.
Alexander, there's every suggestion Ukraine will be firing long-range missiles into Russian territory very soon. I mean, it seems like it's very likely based on all the rhetoric we've heard. Vladimir Putin has said, hey, that would effectively put like NATO at war with Russia. He bluffed about doing anything if Western tanks were used. It seems like he bluffed about doing anything if Western fighter jets were used. What can Russia do if suddenly long-range missiles are hitting Russian territory? What can it do?
Yeah, well, that's the interesting point, is that they really have very limited option without provoking major escalation. So what they talked about is supplying their own weapons to countries which are, or groups which are at war with UK or US. So we're talking about the Middle East, we're talking about possibly Houthis, although that would be kind of technically quite challenging to do, given there is a sea blockade of Yemen, supplying weapons to Iran, but they're already doing that, and so forth. The other option, of course, would be to some form of targeting of the surveillance aircraft over the Black Sea, over the northern Russia, where there was already an episode when Russian jets kind of interfered with the flight path of an American spy drone, and it crashed into the Black Sea. Beyond that, I think there's also a very opportunity of firing more at Ukraine itself. So far they refrain from targeting electrical grid connected with the nuclear plants, but they can change that, which would be really put Ukraine into blackout. So there is a range of options, but so far as Russia at the moment having upper hand in the war anyway, it doesn't really need to do major things to stay the course military prevailing over Ukraine anyway.
Alexander, great to speak to you. Thanks for your analysis. Alexander Titov, a lecturer at Queen's University in Belfast.